Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another video. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about the secret about money. And this is something that your friends, your family, your schools, your teachers, and no one's really going to tell you this. And it's really, really sad to see, because in reality, money is what we work every single day for, right? And then we go and pay our bills, use it to eat food, and then we use it to do recreational things and all kinds of things that have to do with money. And here's something that I wanted to share with you guys about what a lot of investors are saying behind the scenes, behind closed doors, about what money truly is. And if you know this, then you'll never ever need to read another finance book or take a course, investment course, or anything like that. You will know the secret, the most important secret that anyone should know about money. And I'm just gonna get right to it. So without further ado, let's dive right into this one. So what is the secret about money? What is it? Well, money is actually just an illusion. And I don't mean in the metaphysical sense or the physical sense. I mean, money is actually just an illusion. Of course, you have your paper money, so it's real, right? It's real. I mean, I can hit it on the table, I can lick it, I can go and spend it and get something in return. That's money. Isn't that real? Well, let me back up. Money doesn't exist in the sense that you and I think it does, right? Money exists only because someone has placed a certain value on this money and they believe it to be true. And back in the day, money actually was backed by gold. And the Federal Reserve doesn't back their money by anything anymore. It's actually just backed by the consumer, the person who is spending this money, saying, hey, I think this is worth $100, here you go. And someone else giving them a product or service based off of that $100 because they value that money the same. So that is actually why our money is worth what it is today. So at the end of the day, it's what your money buys, what it determines its value. So I actually want to talk about a little place called Zimbabwe and what happened to their currency over a long period of time. And really, it wasn't that long ago. In 2019, they actually had to push what's called a hard reset on their money and start completely over because their currency was being devalued at an exponential rate at a certain point. And what ended up happening is, imagine you going to the grocery store, right? And you need to buy a loaf of bread and you make a set income, right? You make a set income and you need to buy bread because you need to feed your family. You go into that said store and the store owner says, okay, today, the bread is 100, Zimbabwe dollars. He says, okay, great. I make a few thousand Zimbabwe dollars a day or a week or whatever. And here you are. Thank you for the bread. He goes home and this process repeats. And while this is happening, right, over time, the Zimbabwe store clerk, says, hey, last week you paid $100 or last month you paid $100 for this bread. Now it's 1,000. Sorry, I don't know what to tell you. I just had to pay an extra 10x on my house payment, so now I need to make ends meet and to keep the store open. So I'm gonna be making some changes, on the pricing of our goods, so that way I'm gonna keep my store in business, right? And what ended up happening when you went to Zimbabwe and you want to trade out, 40 cents of US dollars, which in most countries, 40 cents, if you go trade it out for the euro, you're not going to get much back. You're going to get 30, 40, 50 cents, depending on the time. But with Zimbabwe, you traded out 40 cents and you would actually get 100 trillion Zimbabwe dollars. And obviously that sounds ridiculous, but you go to the store and at that time, and that same store clerk said, hey, my bread is now, 200 trillion Zimbabwe dollars. And, I'll take cash, check, card, right? But they actually only relied on the paper money. When they did that hard reset, they actually introduced credit card payments, things like that. So their banking system had to improve. And now I think it's something like $1 is only 300 Zimbabwe dollars. But again, it's not the same currency. And when you do this factory or hard reset of currency, pretty much every other currency becomes worthless. And so everyone that had a stockpile of trillions, if not quintillions of dollars, Zimbabwe dollars, now they're left with nothing and they have to start all over. So that's a really, really big problem. And hopefully that never happens to our country, but it's never out of the picture, right? It's always a possibility. Now, luckily, first world country currencies like the euro, the pound, the US dollar, they have a very, very strong system in place to avoid things like this, right? To avoid these types of almost revolutionary changes, right? This is a big problem if that happened here. But luckily for us, there's systems in place, and we trade with a lot of the world, and the world is actually now what defines what our currency is valued at, right? So we have a little bit of a protection barrier from something like that happening. So this can happen whenever, right? And the last time something as big as this happened, I know Russia had one, Zimbabwe's had one, and other countries have had them over, their lifespans. We actually had one just like this, but for the world. It was called the last global financial reset. This happened in 1944, 1945. And if you look at it, that was to create the US dollar as the world currency. So if it happens again, maybe it might change things up, and we won't stay the superpower of currency. And already the tides could be shifting and we just don't know it. So again, nothing to panic about, but just something to keep in mind when you are thinking about what is the US dollar and what is it worth. Now, I wouldn't go and suggest to anyone to go to your family and friends and say, hey, money doesn't exist, right? Or money is just an illusion, right? They'll call you crazy. They'll say, hey, is this an illusion? No, it's not. I can smack you around in the face with, some money. But if you think about money like this versus maybe the way you were thinking about it before, right? Where money is actually just what your value on this currency is, and that's what makes it the US dollar, right? So how do we avoid getting to the point where our money is not worth anything? Well, what I would recommend, first of all, is going up here and watching this video that I have linked on one of these sides. It's gonna pop up here in just a second, and it's gonna tell you what a productive asset is. It's actually the video on gold, but it's gonna tell you what a productive asset is and what an unproductive asset is. And if you think about it, money is actually an unproductive asset unless you put it to work. So what I wanted to share with you is this video if you haven't seen it before, and what that's gonna tell you is how to make your money work for you, so that way you don't have to work as hard for your money. So if you like content like that, go check this video out. I think you'll find some value in there, and then that way you can not be putting your money in a savings account, and instead you'll be using it to purchase things that can actually give you more money. And if you own assets, even if the dollar hit a big reset, well, what would happen is you could use those assets to buy the new dollar, whatever that may be, right? Even if it's in 100 or 1,000 years, and your great grandkids might inherit this asset, they could go in and sell that and hopefully get some sort of currency back in their pockets. And so that way they don't end up like the poor class in Zimbabwe, where if you didn't own assets in this big reset button, well, back to work, and hopefully that new currency that you're earning isn't going to have the same effect happen to it, where it inflates and inflates and inflates and becomes a really, really big problem. So if this is your first time to the channel, hit the subscribe button, and you'll be notified if you hit the notification bell about any time I post new videos. So hopefully you enjoyed it. We'll see y'all in the next one. Peace out.